Hello everybody, it's Non-Scene News here, and today we've got a lot of breaking dates today. So the first news is coming from Russia, where we got news that the South African military delegation, led by the commander of the South African National Defence Forces, arrived in Moscow to discuss issues on bilateral military cooperation. So a military delegation of the Republic of South Africa, led by the chief of the South African National Defence Forces, General Ruzani Mafwana, has arrived in Moscow to discuss issues on bilateral military cooperation. So first, the visit began with the wreath-laying ceremony at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Moscow. So this event was led by the Commander-in-Chief of the Russian Land Forces General of the Army, Oleg Salkov. So during the meeting of the military leaders, agreements were reached on further enhancing cooperation between South Africa and the Russian Federation and to enhance various spheres. So, very interesting news. So, the South African delegation and the Russian armed forces have agreed to enhance cooperation between the two countries regarding the military. So, very interesting news. We've also got some breaking news today. That's today, Russia undertook a nuclear deterrence exercise during which the nuclear deterrence forces exercises the following was carried out. So a launch of an intercontinental ballistic missile of the Yars complex, launch of a ballistic missiles Sevilla and Bulva from the nuclear submarine cruisers, and Tu-95 MS strategic bombers launched air-launched cruise missiles, which were nuclear-capable missiles. So today, Russia published the video. So the Russian Ministry of Defense showed the launches of the Yars and the Bulava ICBMs during the training of the strategic nuclear deterrent forces. So we can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see the Russian Ministry of Defense showed us the launching of the Yars missile, which it successfully launched. And we've also got on the videos of the Ministry of Defense showed us the missiles from the nuclear submarines from the Barents Sea here. So we can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see the submarines launch these nuclear capable missiles in the deterrent tests. So Russia does nuclear deterrent tests. So very interesting news. And we've also gotten the bombers that was also launched. So if you can see here in your bottom left corner, we can see the Tu-95 MS strategic bombers, and we can see them launch. So very interesting news. So the Russian Defense Ministry undertook nuclear defense exercises, so nuclear deterrence exercises. So very big news. So now let's head to some Russian politics. So the Duma has adopted an appeal to the UN General Assembly on the need to end the US economic blockade on Cuba. So according to Vlodin, the UN is not taking effective measures to lift the blockade, while the damage inflicted on Cuba has already exceeded 164 billion due to the embargo on the US and the blockade of Cuba by the US. So we'll be talking a little bit about that at the end of this episode. So keep tuned to them. Now let's go to more stuff in Russia. So the North Korean Foreign Minister Son-hee has left for Russia on an official visit. So the visit by the head of the North Korean Foreign Ministry is part of the strategic dialogue established this summer after the meeting between the country leaders Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un in Pyongyang, the capital city of North Korea. So the Foreign Minister of North Korea will be arriving in Moscow, and I'll keep you updated on that. She might visit Putin, I don't know, but I'll try to keep you updated on that. We've also gotten some news coming from Ukraine. So Mark Rutte, the Secretary General of NATO, confirms that North Korean troops have been sent to Russia to participate in the Ukrainian conflict. So the head of NATO is now confirming that North Korean troops are in Russia training and are going to be sent to the Kursk region to fight the Ukrainian offensive in Russia. And if you can see here in the bottom left corner, we've gotten some more quote-unquote evidence from Ukrainian sources of North Korean soldiers in the Russian army. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see obviously like the portraits of Kim Jong. I don't know actually. I don't know how to actually pronounce his name. It's like Kim Jong-un or something. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see them have their portraits out. So very interesting news. And according to Joe Biden, the president of the United States, if North Korean troops cross the Ukrainian border, according to Joe Biden, Ukraine should strike them. So, according to the president Joe Biden, if North Korean troops cross the border to Ukraine, then Ukraine should be free and should strike them. So, interesting news. Now let's get into some politics of Ukraine. So the Ukrainian parliament voted to extend martial law and general mobilization to February the 7th, 2025. So the Ukrainian parliament extends the martial law and general mobilization. And Ukraine is set to mobilize around 160,000 troops over the next 3 months. So Ukraine apparently is going to be mobilizing 160,000 troops over the next 3 months. We've also got news that Zelensky has proposed a non-nuclear deterrence package that includes the acquisition of Tomahawk missiles. So the Tomahawk missiles, known for its long range of approximately 1,500 miles, far exceeds the capabilities of other systems like the ATACMS that Ukraine has received this year. So the US officials have expressed concerns about supplying such weapons, primarily due to fears that Ukraine might use them to strike deep within Russian territory, potentially provoking a border conflict. So just to measure 1,500 miles, so that is about, let's see here, here. So that's 1,488 miles. So you can see very deep into Russia. So this is miles, and for kilometers, this is 2,395 kilometers. So this Tomahawk missile would be very effective. This is why Ukraine, Zelensky is asking for this weapon to include the non-nuclear deterrence pack. So Zelensky is saying that the Tomahawk missiles should be in the non-nuclear deterrence package. So, interesting news. We've also got news that President Zelensky also held a meeting in the capital city of Iceland with the Prime Ministers of Denmark, Norway, Sweden and Finland. So the main focus is on the continued support for Ukraine, particularly in defense needs, financing on Ukrainian production, strengthening air defenses, and enhancing our long-range capabilities, and additionally implementing points of the victory plan. So this was stated by Zelensky, and to prepare for the second peace summit, Zelensky said. So Zelensky met with the prime ministers of Denmark, Norway, Sweden and Finland to discuss continued support to Ukraine, financing and trying to enhance Ukrainian production and air defense systems and long-range strike capabilities and victory plan and preparing for a second peace summit. So, interesting news. We've also got news that Lithuania has delivered a new military aid package to Ukraine, including generators, ammunition and mortar shells to prepare for the upcoming winter. Since the beginning of the war, Lithuania has provided over 705 million euros in military support, totaling more than 1 billion in overall assistance. So, interesting news. So Lithuania provides new military aid package, so generators, ammunition, mortar shells, and to prepare Ukraine for the upcoming winter. And we've also got news that Croatia has also announced it will supply Ukraine with 30 M84 tanks and 30 M80 infantry fighting vehicles, along with spare parts and ammunition for its stockpiles. In exchange, Croatia will produce 50 new Leopard 2A8 tanks from Germany and reduce the price as confirmed by the Croatian Ministry of Defense. So it seems that Germany and Croatia have made a deal. So Croatia will give Ukraine 30 M84 tanks, 30 M80 infantry fighting vehicles with spare parts for 50 new Leopard 2A8 tanks. So interesting deal between Croatia and Germany. Now we've got news that the South Korean delegation is set to visit Ukraine this week to discuss the deployment of North Korean troops to Russia and explore cooperation measures. So now we've got news that the North Korean foreign minister is going to be visiting will be visiting Moscow, and now the South Korean delegation will be visiting Ukraine. So interesting news. Now let's head to Latvia. We've got news that Latvia tests the Dragon Teeth tank obstacle, which is intended to protect them from possible Russian invasion. So you can see here in the bottom left corner, the Latvian forces. Well, Latvia published a video. It seems that I might get this wrong. It seems to be a T-55 tank trying to get over these Dragon Teeth obstacles, and if you can see it fails. So Latvia and Lithuania have been trying to, are scattering many Dragon Teeth anti-tank obstacles around the Russian border. So remember a couple videos ago, or like I think a couple weeks ago now, we had news that Lithuania is placing these anti-tank obstacles, the Dragon Teeth, to try and prevent a Russian operation into the country. So very interesting news. Now let's head to the Slovak Prime Minister, Robert Fico. So the Slovak Prime Minister, Robert Fico, expressed his intention to attend the Victory Parade in Moscow on May the 9th. He shared his desire during an interview on the program 60 Minutes, and he said that he's going to celebrate the fall of Nazism and the victory over Nazi Germany. So the Slovak Prime Minister, Robert Fico, expressed his intention to attend the Victory Parade in Moscow, which I'm sure that he'll be invited now. So, interesting news. Now we've got news that Hungary and Slovakia has resumed Russian oil deliveries via Ukraine in September. So the Hungarian company MOL, which has a direct agreement with Lukoil. So I've actually marked it on your map. If you see here, this green line actually goes a lot further into Russia. So this green line is the Lukoil pipeline, which goes into Ukraine, which supplies Hungary and Slovakia Russian oil. So there was a conflict early in the conflict, and not so long ago, about Ukraine actually shutting down the pipeline that feeds the two countries Russian oil. It seems that it has now been resumed. So Ukraine and Hungary and Slovakia have negotiated with Ukraine to resume the Russian oil going through its territory. So the Hungarian company MOL, which has a direct agreement with Lukoil to transport crude oil through Ukraine and Belarus to Hungary and Slovakia via the Druzhba pipeline, delivered about 300,000 tons of oil to its refineries in these two countries in September. So Russian oil is going through Ukraine, and 300,000 tons of oil has reached the two countries. So interesting news. Now let's head to Romania. We've got news that Romania may authorize shooting down drones illegally entering its airspace if they pose a threat to lives or property. Per a new draft law of the Defense Ministry of Romania, this comes after repeated incidents of Russian drone fragments landing on Romanian soil due to attacks on Ukrainian ports. The law has opened up, and a public debate has opened up about Romania may be authorizing shooting down drones illegally entering its airspace, and public debates are now happening, and very interesting news are happening right in front of us. So that's happening, and I'll keep you updated on that. We've got news from Poland. That's Poland's unemployment rate remains steady for the third consecutive month. So Poland's unemployment rate held a steady at 5% in September 2024, according to recently published official data. So this marks the third straight month with no change, as the same rate was recorded in July and August compared to September 2023. The rate remains unchanged, showing no year-over-year variation. So Poland's unemployment rate remains steady for third consecutive month at 5% under unemployment. So interesting news. Now let's head to the Germany's Volkswagen problem that's happening. So Volkswagen is preparing to lay off tens of thousands of employers in Germany due to a large-scale crisis, writes Bild. So the company's board of directors announced a strict cost-cutting plan. At least 3 out of 10 plants in Germany will be closed. The entire departments will be laid off. At others, salaries will be reduced by 18%, and social benefits will be cancelled. So the entire departments are planned to be outsourced abroad. So approximately 120,000 people work at the Volkswagen plants in Germany, with about half of them at the main plant in Wolfsburg. So interesting news. So the Volkswagen problem in Germany continues. Now let's head to Great Britain. So David Lammy is the Secretary of State for Foreign Affairs and the Commonwealth and Development Affairs of the United Kingdom. So David Lammy, the UK official, released this video here. So if you want to watch it, it's about a minute long, and if you don't want to watch it, you can just skip ahead.
The Kremlin's disinformation is a desperate attempt to undermine our democracy. Putin and his mafia state are trying to poison the world with disinformation, division and disorder in the UK and throughout the world. He's failing, and I'm determined that he will continue to fail, and I'm taking action to ensure that he does. I'm directly exposing the Kremlin's mouthpieces and sanctioning those who clumsily try to spread Putin's lies across the world. They have spewed their bile on Putin's orders in a desperate attempt to undermine support for Ukraine, from trying to create deep fakes to inciting failed protests across Europe. But their efforts will keep failing. The UK, united with our international allies, has stood with Ukraine for 2 years. We stand with them still. It is my personal mission to constrain the Kremlin and apply relentless pressure against all elements of Russian malign activity. Last week it was the illicit Shadow Fleet, previously using barbaric chemical weapons in Ukraine, and malicious Russian cyber gangs like Eagle Corps. By shining a light on Putin's murky activities and punishing his puppets, we will constrain the Kremlin.
So that was released by the UK government, and a very interesting video. Now let's head to probably one of the biggest. Let's head to one of the biggest news today, and it's coming from this part of the United Kingdom. So a major fire has broken out at the BAE Systems nuclear submarine yard in Cumbria, Sky News reports. So 2 people have been injured, and the police assured that there are no nuclear risks due to the fire. So the BAE Systems produce a wide range of military equipment, including nuclear submarines, fighter aircrafts, tanks, ships, weapons, and ammunition. So you can see here in your bottom left corner, we can see the fire spread into the building. So this is probably very huge damage to the United Kingdom's capacity to get out these nuclear submarines and make aircraft and tanks. So if you can see here in your bottom left corner, we can see the factory, the facility on fire. So right now, the police assured that there's no nuclear risks due to the fire, but this does hurt the United Kingdom a little bit. So interesting news coming from the United Kingdom there. We've also got news that the first case of the new variant of Mpox has been reported in the UK. So the first case of the new variant of monkeypox has been reported in London, linked to a recent travel to the infectious areas of Africa. The outbreak has already claimed nearly 1,000 lives in the Democratic Republic of Congo and neighbouring countries. So the investigations into the case are underway to find out how the infection was acquired and to assess whenever these are possible linked cases. Currently, only a few cases of the new virus has been reported in Europe, and now the first one has been recorded in London, the capital city of the United Kingdom. So, interesting and very concerning news. And now let's head to Spain, where we've gotten some huge news. So, coming from the Spanish city of Valencia, we've got news and we've got huge footage of and horrifying footage of massive floods that devastate this Spanish city of Valencia and its surrounding. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see huge videos that have been emerging from social medias and news from Spain of this huge floods that and rainfall that hit the Spanish city of Valencia. And if we can see all these videos here, we can just see the devastation that it has caused already. So nearly 100 people are dead as a result of this of these floods. So we can see residents be swept away during these massive floods. According to experts, more than 19 inches of rainfall happened in just 8 hours. So Spain has declared 3 days of mourning for those killed in the flooding. So this has been marked as one of the worst natural disaster in Spain. So it's been declared after this severe flooding. Now let's head to Georgia, where we've got news that the Georgian Prime Minister has welcomed the Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who has arrived the day before. So earlier, even before the first results of the Georgia's parliamentary elections were announced, Viktor Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, congratulated the ruling Georgian Dream Party on its stunning victory, drawing criticism from the EU. So Viktor Orban is in the Georgian capital city, where he was greeted very warmly. So he stated that if the Liberal parties win, there will be democracy. If the Conservatives win, there is no democracy. Hungary's Viktor Orban calls out criticism of Georgia's election results. So Turkey has already recognised the elections in Georgia, and other countries seem to be now recognising the Georgian parliamentary elections, except some Western countries like Sweden and other Western countries. So there's still protests in the capital city. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, we've seen another round of protests, but this one is a lot more less significant. So there's less people who turned up, but still protests nonetheless. So interesting news. Now let's head to Hezbollah, where we've got news that Naim Qassem becomes the new leader of Hezbollah. So I'll put his name here in the bottom right corner, just in case I am getting his name wrong, which I'm probably 100% am. So Naim Qassem becomes the new leader of Hezbollah. So he was pronounced the leader of Hezbollah on Tuesday, and if you can see here in your bottom left corner, this is the new Hezbollah leader, and he stated that the extent of targeting Hezbollah, especially targeting its leader after the pager bombing, was painful for us, but the party regained its position. So there's been quite a lot of leaders of Hezbollah this past month. I think there was 5 leaders of Hezbollah who's now been killed by Israeli strikes, and we've already gotten a response to Israel about his appointment. So we can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see the Israeli Defense Minister tweet on X that well, you can see his portrait, you can see him, and he's stated that temporary appointment, not for long. So he's obviously threatening that Israel will strike him. And there's been some rumors that he's actually in Iran right now. I'm not sure if these rumors are true, but we've gotten some rumors that the new Hezbollah leader is actually in Iran, not Lebanon. So I'll keep you updated on that. While talking about the Israeli defense minister, so the Israeli defense minister stated that Hezbollah only has 20% of its missiles left, and we've also got news coming from the IDF chief of staff. He stated to Iran that if they launch missiles at Israel again, we will know how to reach Iran again with capabilities that we have not used. We will hit locations that were excluded during the previous strike. So, apparently, coming from the IDF Chief of Staff, Halvia, if Iran strikes again, Israel will strike very, very harshly. So, very interesting news. We've also got news that Floyd Mayweather, the boxer, has entered Jerusalem. So he has flown to Israel to visit the Western Wall in Jerusalem to pray during his quote-unquote solidarity trip to Israel. So very interesting news. And we've also got videos and pictures of Floyd Mayweather actually handshaking Benjamin Netanyahu. I'm not actually sure if this is an old picture or this is recent. So apparently Mayweather has met the Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, as well. So I'm sure there's going to be very, very harsh things that are going to be said about him after that trip. Now let's head to Iran, where we've got news that Iran says that it's increased its military budget by 200%. So apparently we've got some news coming from Iran that Iran says that it has increased its military budget by 200%. And now let's head to Somalia. So we've got news coming from the Somalian government that the Somalian government has just declared the Ethiopian ambassador to Somalia to leave the country within the next 72 hours for violating Somalia's sovereignty. So the Somalian government has just amended the Ethiopian ambassador to leave the country within the next 72 hours. And this comes as heightening tensions within the region continue. So we've got some footage. So the Ethiopian Prime Minister revealed in a meeting with the Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko in the BRICS Kazan city. So the Ethiopian Prime Minister met with the Belarusian President Lukashenko, and according to the Ethiopian Prime Minister, it is only a matter of time before Ethiopia gains access to the Red Sea. So obviously it means that something is going to happen, and tensions within the region continue to grow. Now let's head to Niger. We've got news that Niger signs agreement with Starlink. So the Niger Prime Minister announced that Niger will be connected to the global Starlink satellite communication system. So according to the Nigerian Prime Minister, this is a major achievement for the government, which allows us to cover all regions of Niger with mobile communications. The Starlink satellites will allow us to have communications throughout the country, which is an important step towards modernizing our administration and our national economy. And supporting the national economy. So Niger signs major agreement with Starlink. So very interesting news. We'll also go to Morocco. So we've got news that France and Morocco sign agreements worth 10 billion euros on investment, infrastructure, and energy. So President Macron of France had landed in Morocco, where he's meeting the Moroccan King Mohammed VI, I believe. So during President Emmanuel Macron's state visit to Morocco, he and the Moroccan King Mohammed signed new deals at the Royal Palace, boosting ties between the two nations. So the agreement, which are worth around 10 billion euros, cover issues including investment, energies, and infrastructure. According to the agreements, the French railway manufacturer Alstom will give up to 18 high-speed trains cars to Morocco. We've also got news that the president of France, Macron, stated that the present and the future of Western Sahara is within the Moroccan sovereignty. So the French president Macron received a huge applause in the Moroccan parliament after he announced that France would recognize Morocco's sovereignty over the Western Sahara. So, very interesting visit to Morocco. So France and Morocco have now signed huge agreements worth $10 billion, and France now recognize the Western Sahara Desert under Moroccan sovereignty. And now let's just wait for Algeria's response, which is going to be very, very harsh. And now let's head to China and India, where we've got news coming from the Chinese and Indian border. So we've just got news that the Chinese army is now disengaging near the LAC border with India. So the People's Liberation Army is officially withdrawing from the Ladakh region, dismantling outposts, fortifications, and removing all supplies. So this is the region of Ladakh. I think that's how you pronounce the name. So this is a rough area of the state, the region. So it seems that China and India seems to have actually reached a solid deal regarding its border issue with India and China. And now we've gotten footage of both sides of disengaging at the border. So this is really big news, and progress on the border has seriously happened. So interesting news. We've gotten some space news coming from China, coming from this exact space launch center here. So we've just got news that the launch of China's Shenzhou 19 crewed spacecraft into orbit was successful. So the CZ 2FG carrier rocket launched the Shenzhou 19 today at 4:27 in the morning. So from the space launch center in northern China. So the crew members are in good health. The launch has been deemed a complete success. The spacecraft is expected to dock soon with China's Daogong space station. So if you can see here in the bottom left corner, we can see the launch of the space rocket into China's space station, where it seems that it has gone very successful. Now let's head to Taiwan and the Taiwan Strait. So we've gotten some nature news. So nature breaks the tensions in the Taiwan Strait. So a huge typhoon is set to hit Taiwan. So the Typhoon Kongray 1 is one of the most severe storms of 2024 and is heading towards Taiwan at 145 miles per hour. So that's about 233 kilometers an hour. Taiwan has issued a land warning on Wednesday over most of the island, according to the Central Weather Administration. So we can see these images in your bottom left corner. We can see these huge typhoons marching and moving itself towards the island of Taiwan. Very interesting news. And now let's head to North Korea, where we've got news that North Korea just launched the ISBM. So we've got news that North Korea launches the ISBM rocket in show of force against US, Kim Jong-un says. So North Korea has just launched another rocket in the Sea of Japan, or the East Sea. So in a brief statement released by Korean Central News Agency, so the KCNA News, around noon, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said the launch was intended to communicate our resolve to adversaries in response to the dangerous reinforcement of nuclear alliances between the US and South Korea. So North Korea has launched a rocket into this Sea of Japan, or the East Sea, to try and warn South Korea and America of getting too close, I guess. Now let's head to the north of Japan, to this exact airfield here. So a fire has broke out at the this airfield here. So a fire broke out on the US FA-18 fighter jet while it was about to launch, about to fly at the Miswa airspace. So in Japan, so if you can see here in the bottom left corner, it actually got set on fire, but it seems that they extinguished the fire before it got too bad. I'm not sure if this jet can fly anymore, so we haven't gotten much news regarding the pilot or the jet. So I'll keep you updated on that if there's any other news that comes my way on that. We got some news coming from El Salvador. So the El Salvador president is now sending 2,000 soldiers to a crime-riddled area to find and neutralize all members of a gang operating there. So El Salvador continues to crack down on its gangs. So the police intelligence has determined that a group of gang members are hiding in this neighborhood here. I've actually highlighted it here. So if you can see this neighborhood here, apparently gangs are still up and running in this area, and the El Salvador president is now sending 2,000 soldiers to try and get all the gang members in prison, it seems. So interesting news, and I'll keep you updated on that. We've also gotten some news, and the last news come today is coming from the US. First, let's head to this side of the US. So we've got news. I'll just mark it here really quickly. So we've got news coming from here that a 6.1 magnitude earthquake hits off the coast of the US and a little bit of Canada, it seems. So this 6.1 magnitude earthquake shows no sign of tsunami threat, but very interesting news. It seems that no one was hurt so far, and I'll keep you updated on that. Now let's head to the final news today, and it's coming from the US and Vice President Kamala Harris. So Kamala Harris had a rally in Washington, D.C., where she stated that Trump is the person that stood at this very spot nearly 4 years ago and sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol, Harris said. We've also got news that Donald Trump also has spent a decade trying to keep the American people divided and afraid of each other, Kamala Harris stated too at this rally. And she has said that that is not who we are, and she said many other things about him. And the election day continues to grow closer and closer, and tensions go higher and higher. And we've also got news that the world wants to let Cuba go and do its thing and stop the embargo. So for the 32nd year in a row now, the UN vote is blocked. So the vote is meant to try and end the embargo against Cuba. So there was 2 people who voted against the embargo, and obviously that is the United States. And surprisingly, I'm surprised about this, it was Israel too. And Moldova has abstained from voting. So the it's now going to go to its 33 years of embargo on Cuba, but it seems that probably 99% of the world now wants to let Cuba do its thing and stop the embargo, just according to the UN statistics and this map here. And that's all the news I actually have for you today. I am Noncy News. I'll try and provide you news that medias around the world do not show you. And I hope all of you have a very happy Halloween for those who celebrate it. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.